Do you guys remember? This was from a bit ago, like maybe 10 years ago. Do you remember something called the button on Reddit? Do does that
Is
sound?
this the one where you press it and somebody will die, but you get $1 million?
No, that's the box featuring Cameron Diaz, I think.
It was a Twilight Zone episode before that. Yeah.
That as well.
Mm.
So okay, so let me set let me set the scene since you don't know what I'm talking about, and I would like to hear your opinions about what I'm talking about. One day, when you went to Reddit on April Fool's Day of whatever year I'm thinking of, the front page of Reddit had a button, and you could click it, and that's it. That was the whole thing. However, once you clicked this button, for people who did, a color flare would appear next to your name. And I think, if I remember right, when it started off, you would the people who clicked it very quickly, it would be purple. Suddenly, everyone's flares were turning purple. People were thinking, "Okay, cool." And I clicked a button, and it was purple. I don't care about this. So then suddenly, less people were clicking it, and if people went longer, but what happened was this button would count down. It would count down. I don't remember the time, maybe a minute, maybe 5 minutes. I don't remember what it was. And they would click it, and it would just keep getting back to that one, right? It'd go down to 59, back to one, down to 59, 58, back to one. Right? People are clicking it so fast, it's just jumping back up. So then it would suddenly start dipping into let's say the 40 seconds, and then people would start clicking, and suddenly their flares were, I could probably say the wrong color, but green, right? And then they over the next week or two, then it started dipping into the 30s and 20s, and people would click, and it would turn red, and people realized that whenever you decided to click this button, however much time you let go by, would determine which sector you got placed into. Red, green, purple, whatever. Does this not sound familiar?
Nope. Not in
I
the least.
remember that there was a
Wow.
button, but
Yeah.
no, I was
So
not
the
part of that.
entire subreddits were spawned by this. The city of Emerald, the Church of Purple, like all these things where people were saying, I'm better than you because I waited longer. I'm better than you because I clicked right away. I conform. I don't conform. There was gray if you didn't click it at all. There were people who saved the experiment by waiting till it went to 1 second and then they gave up their click before it reset, right? Everyone had one click. It went on for weeks. And eventually it finally ran out after, I want to say, 2 or 3 months. And I wondered if there would be, it was a whole experiment. Reddit just came out later and said, I just wanted to see what would happen, right? And just, it was a huge social experiment. And I was thinking, what would happen if we had a scenario like this in real life? And what would happen to society? If a button showed up somewhere that had, say, a 5-minute timer on it that counted down, no one knew why. What do you think would happen?
It would probably pop up downtown somewhere, and I don't live near a downtown, and I would probably never see it.
Like, if there's just one on the whole, well, I guess it's your scenario. You can think whatever you want. But like, let's say one showed up in London. I don't know. How does that impact society?
If it was in London, I think somebody would slap a sign on it that said, whoever presses the button right gets to be in the next king.
Do you think people would make up those rules
I think people would put signs up.
and pretend that they were making up rules?
Historically, it happened with at least one person.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think. Like, would people flock to this as like the eighth wonder of the world, ninth, seventh, one of the numbers of the world, like theoretically saving the world?
You're putting the Colossus at Rhodes, the Lost Library of Alexandria, on par with a button that makes things turn colors. So I'm going to go ahead and say probably not doing much, man.
Well, it might not.
And-
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
And like, oh, it mysteriously appeared. There are a lot of people who have the ability to make things mysteriously appear.
It's easier to do this on the internet than in real life, I think, in my opinion. But
I don't have to drive.
that's true. That's true. But people started writing. Everyone had a click, right? So people started writing programs for like new users, like made up Reddit users, to click this button to keep the experiment going. So I wonder if you'd get people that would start paying people to go there just to use their click, to keep whatever that they needed, whatever they felt this button was preventing. Like, what if you felt it was preventing like an apocalyptic end or anything like that? Would you feel compelled to click it or press it?
To save the world?
Sure.
Sure. I would press a button.
No one proved that it would or would not happen.
Then no.
You don't think so?
It's hard for me to picture it being anything other than some jerk put a button.
This is a jaded point of view, Patrick.
How many miraculously appearing buttons have you seen?
Well, none in my life, which would make this a very interesting scenario to me if this appeared. Like, it'd be like on every single news broadcast and things like that.
I'm not pushing various buttons. It's unhygienic.
Alex, always with
That's
a
how
logical
COVID
point of
started.
view.
Sorry.
Well, I think it lasted like 3 months or something like that. And finally, I think there was a big backlash that that one of the clicks didn't work. Like the when they clicked it, it didn't stop the timer, and there was this whole big thing. People were attacking Reddit mods and everything because of this. But I don't know if it would end up in if that kind of experiment would translate into real world. Maybe we should try it.
Go for it.
I think us trying it kind of makes it non-miraculous.
True.
Well, to us,
unless we're a lot more famous than we think we are.
Well, if this podcast is any indication, then that will be true.
There's at least 10 people that'd be excited about it.
Perfect.
Hey everyone, it's Future Patrick. It turns out that a miraculous button has been discovered, and you get to press it. It's called the 5-star review button, and it's available in whatever podcast app you use. To get to it, search for Animorphs 55 the podcast, click our show, and you, dear listener, will be given the opportunity to click the mysterious 5-star review button. Go ahead and try it now. You can probably finish pressing it before the intro music is over. Thanks. We at Animorphs 55 the podcast would love to hear from you. You can email the show at animorphspodpeople@gmail.com. We also post links to other listening methods, our Blue Sky account, and links to friends of the show on our Linktree at linktree.com/Animorphs55 the podcast. Enjoy the show.
Well, hey, welcome to Animorphs 55 the podcast. I'm one of your hosts today. I'm Zach.
And I'm Patrick.
I'm Alex.
And we do have a fourth guest today.
I'm Gabe. Hey, nice to be here.
Tell us about yourself, Gabriel.
Oh, well, so I am an author in Melbourne in Australia, and I am a lapsed Animorphs fan, somewhat recently pulled back into the fold by a little disruptive thing called COVID, during which I don't know. I actually know what happened was that, I was a fan of Animorphs growing up as a kid, and then I kind of forgot about it and sort of remembered very fondly reading those books in the 90s. And then during COVID, I picked up and I read Chris Grind's graphic novel adaptation, the first one, and it just kind of brought everything flooding back. And, during COVID, we all went a little bit crazy, and I just embarked on this insanely long quest to track down every single copy of, every single book in the series, which is actually quite hard nowadays because, they're all out of print and some of them to track down and quite rare, and I spent a lot of money and time doing it. But then I ended up reading them all during lockdown, and I just became a total reaffirmed evangelist for the series, to the immense frustration of everyone who knows me, and to the continued eye rolls of everyone who follows me on social media when I post another blog post or another article or another podcast. Animorphs. So very sorry to be adding to that long list with this, but I'm extremely happy to be here.
That sounds like me. There's times when I'm rambling about it and people are like, what's a Yeerk? I lost you. And I'm like, hey, you don't get it.
It's when you start getting into like the Geds and the Scripnar and everything that, people start to really just sort of fade away, because a lot of people just have like a vague of the Nickelodeon show, and they'll be like, oh, you remember like the Yeerks falling into your ears, and
They heard Yeerk and they're out.
We gotta go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah, they get it, man. Dogs get it.
They know better than we do.
Yeah. So for Gabe, this is Patrick's like second time through, and the first time was maybe 5 years ago. This is Alex's first time through, versus people like us. We get it,
If you do say so yourself.
We were there, man.
And today we did read Animorphs number 13, The Change, which I do want to ask Alex a question really quick. Did you look
Please.
at this cover before reading?
I specifically, so I had my wife actually pull up the file because I've got an array of files that I'm utilizing to read these on an e-reader. I had her specifically pull it up and asked her to turn to the second page so that way I wouldn't spoil whatever it was that was going on. I assumed by the title that was going to spoil a little bit, but no, I didn't look at the cover until the finality of the book. So
I do wonder if it's a tad bit spoiler. I mean, maybe it is like looking back, but in book 3, it's Tobias turning into a hawk, and in this book, the cover could also be Tobias turning into a hawk, or the other way around. Depends on. It's easy to look back on it and see which one it is. But just going in, I was wondering if that would change. It'd probably change the way the story unfolded, perhaps, if you looked at the cover versus not.
I mean, but there's also an argument because this is, if my memory serves correctly, this is the first Tobias book since number 3, The Encounter.
Mhm.
And, I mean, at this point in the series, obviously Tobias has only ever, he had a couple of morphs in the first book, but he's been stuck as a hawk the whole time. So it would kind of stand to reason that Tobias book would show him morphing into a hawk because at this point, what else do you show? Like you can kind of go, well, that's kind of the one thing he does. So I don't know. I think there's an argument that you could get away with reading this book and seeing the cover without anticipating the big game changer that's right around the corner that obviously becomes so crucial for the rest of the series.
Yeah, the alternative is just like a hawk, and it's just like not changing at all. Just like 5 pieces of the same hawk
one
copy
hawk
pasted
to another hawk. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like, well, we may have messed up by.
Yeah, we're out of
That's
ideas
what
now.
it
I don't
is.
know what to do for 23. Yeah.
Right.
I will read the back. We always do the back. Tobias has pretty much gotten used to his life. He's a red-tailed hawk with the mind of a kid. It was weird when he first got trapped in morph, but now it's almost okay. After all, how many kids actually get the chance to fly? There is looking at the glass half full, Tobias. Now Tobias is about to make a very special choice. A choice that the other Animorphs and Axe know nothing about. And it could mean the difference between being a hawk and being human. And
Okay, so the back of the book is also spoilery. Thanks,
Yeah,
back
that's
of the book.
Thanks, back of the book. It's barely generic. Oh, even more generic. The front. Be afraid.
Right.
That's the whole tagline. Be afraid. Yes.
We could throw that on any
I
book
guess
and it wouldn't
on any
be too
and it
suspicious.
would be.
But I mean,
That's
you
right.
can kind of make the argument for like almost every Animorphs tagline and every Animorphs title as well, because a lot of the titles don't have a huge amount to do with what happened in the book, or only in the
Yeah.
most generic,
Especially as we
squinty
go.
way possible.
That's right. So does anyone want to kick us off on how we get going?
Sure.
You got it.
Ah, just in time. Snatched it away from Zach. All right, so we get our normal. My name is Tobias. I can't tell you anything about me chapter, but he does it a little bit different, and it's kind of fun. He is, of course, a hawk. He's always a hawk. It's kind of his thing, and he's flying around. And he flies to the school, and in one of the windows, he sees Rachel, and here's what I know about Rachel. And then he goes to another window, and there's Marco making the teacher laugh, and
And the teacher specifically looks like he doesn't want to laugh. I like that little added piece. Yeah.
yeah, and so he's flying around, and I'm still a hawk, and it's kind of rough. And oh, hey, look, Rachel is walking out of the building. And she's carrying a folder with a note in it. It says, "Congratulations." That's not a word. Congratulations, Rachel. You are the Packard student
Foundation
of the year.
something. Yep.
Yeah. And so for being an exceptional student, even though I think it was last book that Chapman called her into his office and said, "Hey, your grades are slipping pretty bad.
Hot take.
You
Yeah. Good remembering,
Oh,
Patrick.
you can't be
Valid.
here no more."
Good remembering. That happened in the reaction. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Suspicious.
thought we escaped the whole recap, but he does bring it up. I thought that was a clever way of bypassing the recap, but we do get our typical. This is how we got the powers. This is what's going on. We have Andalites versus Yeerks and blah blah blah. We get our typical thing. Yeah. So they're
Yeah.
flying around having a little bird date.
Yeah, Rachel goes flying with Tobias.
We get our sad little moment where, Tobias is basically talking about, nobody noticed that I turned into a hawk because, I was bopping around all these homes and, I had aunts and uncles who took care of me and such, but nobody really cares, which, he's still got a pretty positive outlook for somebody who is dealing with those kind of life circumstances. But, flying's pretty cool, I guess. So good counterbalance.
He does keep going back to that. Flying is cool. So, in anything that I have to deal with, quote, but everybody's got problems, right? Which,
Right.
poor Tobias. I mean, no, Tobias, people don't have to sleep in trees and worry about raccoons grabbing you in the middle of the night.
Not these sort of issues.
Yeah, it's not that teenage issue. Yeah. But when they're flying, Tobias wants to be part of the team and is like, hey, I feel like I'm being left out, or not being left out, but I feel like I'm not helping as much. So I've been scoping out Yeerk entrances. Let me show you a Yeerk entrance, Rachel. It's right over here. Wait, where am I? What is happening? Why are we over in this other random part of the woods? That's not where I meant to go.
Yeah, weird. Anyway, let's go back to the place I wanted to show you. And wait, we're here again.
Yeah. Oh, look, a tree is moving. That's also weird. It's crazy how much I don't recall if maybe I missed it, but if there's a specific range of time that has happened since from 1 to 13, I mean, it's at least many months at least.
The timeline's always kept very vague, like throughout the whole series, and I think with
Right.
this isn't a spoiler, but like towards the final books, there is a point where they do tell you how much time has passed, and they sort of play that thing where they say this is how old we were at the start, this is how old we are at the end. But they sort of allude to the fact that in the in-universe accounts that they've written, which never made a lot of sense, because if you're trying to like protect yourself from the Yeerks, you're not really going to write down every adventure and mission you've done, and
Right.
not naming the town probably isn't going to do enough when you name Visser 3 and pretty much everyone else, and leaving out your last names again, probably not that much help in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, the explanation they have at the end is that they deliberately kept it vague as to how much time had passed, but probably by this point in time, it's probably been about 6 months since the first book, I think.
That's my
that was
feeling.
all out.
That's my feeling. And it's crazy how much they've gotten accustomed to weirdness. I mean, they're flying as birds, being teleported, not knowing why, and seeing a tree move on hydraulics and seeing 2 aliens pop out of it.
And then we also remember that the last time we had Tobias point of view book, he almost killed himself because of eating a vole, was it? And whereas by this point in the series, he's extremely comfortable with with hunting mice and rats and everything. So, a bit of a character arc for him's going on.
Yeah, to the point where he's like elitist hunter. He's like, guys, you don't even know. I mean, I just eat mice for breakfast. What do you do with your Wheaties, you nerds? Yeah. Yeah, but it's 2 aliens popping out from under this tree hole, this hole that appears underneath this tree. It's 2 Hork-Bajir, and they're on the run, and it takes them a minute. Rachel and Tobias are like, why are they running? What is this? Daytime. That's weird. Maybe it takes them a little longer than you expect, but I guess what I had to think about was the premise is every Hork-Bajir in the entire universe is enslaved. So there's no separating for them a Hork-Bajir from the Yeerk. It is one and the same. So everything has to be, these are controllers running around. Why is that happening? And eventually they realize, oh crap, these are free Hork-Bajir. They're like escaping. What do we do?
Well, in minute 1, this is the first opportunity that we get for the entirety of the book to see the mobilization of force that we get around trying to re-corral these Hork-Bajir. Because previously, I mean, if I'm trying to think back to the largest show force, and really it was the one where they were heisting the crystal for the Pemalites, and they had probably 20 humans outside and a handful of Hork-Bajir. So that was the largest mobilization of anything to fight back against these Andalite bandits that we've seen. But now we've got 15 humans. Then we've also got a handful of motorbikes, and we've also got some 4x4s, and it's a large coalition of people who are all controllers going out for these Hork-Bajir, which was wild to think about. And then it just escalates even further and further and further as the book goes on. So that was notable to just go ahead and drop
really
those
raised the
details in
stakes.
and go. Yeah.
And it shows just how
Yeah.
much they want to capture these things. Like,
Right.
whatever, anything, because we can't have two free Hork-Bajir from the Yeerk perspective, at least.
I guess. But strangely
Would have-
large mobilization of force for just that. And so I was like, okay, so what's the lead here? You know, what's the A plot that we're going into if we're seeing them try and pull this off? And so Tobias, of course, gets to use his, flying skills and every single flying metaphor and every single I caught this wind and I was able to take this turn and bank this.
Thermal.
Thermals,
If
man.
I knew how to
Always
fly,
thermals.
I'd know. You clearly know what you're doing, bud. Great job.
But they do the Hork-Bajir are running and one of them falls, and Tobias is quickly realizing that Hork-Bajir are not bright, and he's like, dude, you just gotta leave it. We gotta go. There's a quick mention of these Hork-Bajir, by the way, are speaking English with a little bit of Hork-Bajir language in there, and he says a Hork-Bajir word that turns out later to be the word for wife, I think, or love, or something like that.
Wife.
But at least they got one. They got one Hork-Bajir, which, did we have a classic back at the barn scene right here? It was almost jarring to me. It was, we are being chased by everybody. Oh my gosh, we're flying like mad with these two aliens. One of them fell, leave him behind. Let's go get this other one safe. Anyways, I was talking to Marco in the next chapter, and I was like, wait, is Marco there? Marco's not there. Oh my God, they're in the barn.
Yep.
The next day.
Anyways.
Yeah. Very abrupt.
The Hork-Bajir falls, and Tobias is like, wow, he's not very smart, huh? But then, in book 2, I think, Chapman, has taken Rachel the cat to the construction site, and he fights, or the Yeerk releases him to speak plainly, and he just falls on the floor and flops like a fish.
Oh yeah.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
And he's like muttering and mumbling.
Yeah, he's just super bad at using his body. And then here's this Hork-Bajir is just like, nah, I'm out of here. 40 miles an hour. Go.
Right away.
So
I've been waiting for this my whole life.
Good on him.
Yeah.
Good on him. Them. There's two of them.
But they
One's a
do
lady.
they think, okay, we gotta. I mean, we left him in a cave. We should probably go talk to him. And I love that. I think it was Jake, maybe, or no, it was Axe that said, maybe we should ask what that Hork-Bajir wants to do. And they're all like, that's a fair point. We're not in control here.
All over
necessarily.
the place in this book too, because we get these moments where, I mean, if we're all being honest with ourselves, he's being pretty racist against all these Hork-Bajir. Oh, they're not very smart, and we're better than them, and
that
they
gets
only
worse.
have so many words.
That just gets worse.
Oh no.
Classic
Axe.
Andalite behavior.
Well, and it's funny
Classic
to see
Andalite behavior.
Tobias jumping out and being like, yeah, Axe said all of these things. And in the other books, I think it just kind of gets glossed over and everyone says, no worries. But no, Axe had some strong
It is something
opinions
that
about
you truly have to admire the consistency of Andalite racism, but also just Andalite prejudice in general. Because you get points later on where you find out that mildly disabled Andalites are complete pariahs in their society and all kinds of things, and that's just never really resolved. It's just always there. But I mean, yeah, the escalating severe prejudice of Axe and the Andalites, and I think without spoiling, but as the series goes on, you realize that. And I think you already sort of know at this point, it's heavily alluded to and heavily set up in this book, the idea that the Andalites are really not the good guys. And I think you see a lot of that in Axe, a lot of that in his attitudes, and particularly towards the Hork-Bajir, which, they have always viewed as a subspecies, basically. They've always viewed the Hork-Bajir as not really worth their time. And that's heavily, heavily lent into in this book, and it's not unique to Axe.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And the fact that he actually says let's ask the Hork-Bajir, because it was Axe that says that, right? I'm not misremembering. I think
it is. Yeah, I only read it yesterday.
Yeah, he says let's ask. I was surprised by that. Out of all the ones here, you would think maybe Cassie would ask that or something like that. But they do, and I did have a point when they find the cave and they're like, all right, let's send Axe in because I don't know, he's an alien and that's an
What a
alien,
choice.
so
What a
it'll be
choice.
fine, I guess. And they were still wondering how do we know that this Hork-Bajir is or is not a controller? We don't technically know. I mean, probably not, but we don't know. And the Hork-Bajir just chose the worst thing to do, which was when he sees an Andalite, immediately yell, Andalite! Which is the giveaway for every controller we've ever seen across the last 10 books or whatever. If any controller sees an Andalite, they just can't help themselves. So I was like, oh my gosh, Jera, which is the Hork-Bajer's name, Jera Hami. Please don't yell Andalite. It's the one thing that they'll doubt. Okay, just be normal. Chill out. Be cool.
Really sets him off.
Speaking of which, he introduces himself. He says, "I'm Jera Hami," and then Jake probably is like, "Your name is Jeremy?" And then
yeah,
I thought,
that's a good line.
okay, I don't know when Pearl Jam came out with the song Jeremy, but I'm gonna ask about it. So I asked ChatGPT, was Jeremy based on what the Animorphs Hork-Bajir character?
I'm sure that was connected.
And it says you have reached the limit of the number of questions you have asked.
Understandable.
So
please turn away now.
Convenient, convenient ChatGPT.
I think it's canon.
But he does show
that's a Parks and Rec derivative joke.
How I can
you have network connectivity issues.
He does. Okay, so Jera says, "I will show you that I'm not a controller." Hello, everyone that I just met. Let me rip open my head and show you my brain.
Wild
that's pretty
moment.
intense.
Yeah, that's
okay.
a little,
okay, cool.
little much.
And he's just fine, which makes me think they should really not be murdering every Hork-Bajir they see.
Well,
come up with something that can capture them
do you
so
think
that they can.
I mean, yeah, that's a very, very good point. But I always wondered, because I mean, that's a scene that really sticks with me. It's always stuck with me. It's like Jara cutting open his own head to show his brain. I'm like, is there not a skull in the way there? Or but whatever. But you know, whatever, alien physiology, it's fine. I'll go with it. But I did always wonder if that was there to kind of justify the amount of damage they do to Hork-Bajir, because you've got a book here that is going out of its way to sort of, you know, make the Hork-Bajir these beautiful, likable, benevolent creatures, which, you know, the series will lean into more and more. And to be fair, that's set up right from the first book. I think Alfangor says in the first book that the Hork-Bajir are fundamentally peaceful, but this is the first time you really get to see that, and then it sets up what you've gone to see in the Hork-Bajir Chronicles and the rest of the series. But I wonder if, by introducing the fact that they can take a huge amount of damage and then heal almost instantly, it's kind of in place there to be like, yeah, look, I know that we've messed up a lot of them really, really badly, but most of them probably survive because of this rapid healing thing. Also to kind of justify the fact that folks never seem to really run out of them, despite how many the Animorphs take down over the course of the series.
That's fair.
There's a lot of Hork-Bajir that may end up having their eyes after all, even though Tobias
scratches out a lot of
goes out of his way.
Mission after mission after mission, yeah.
Ooh, eyeballs.
But they say later. Well, in this case, is this when they start realizing, oh gosh, we got to go find his wife, Ket Halpak, and Tobias is like, all right, let's go look. Oh my gosh, I'm somewhere else again. That happens right away, right? Like, why? Now this is weird because now I'm like, I think he says a quarter mile away or something like that. I didn't accidentally fly a quarter mile away. Oh look, there's a Hork-Bajir below me.
Yeah, because everybody's there at the cave, and is this where they're trying to get him out? And they do the weird aggression ritual.
Yes, when Rachel morphs him. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because he says something like, Cassie's overhead, being an owl, keeping an eye out while we do all this, and suddenly he's just hopped off from the ground and taken 2 flaps. And suddenly he's way up in the air, higher than he can look down and see Cassie. And he's like, that's not right.
Yep. I can't just hop up into the way, the stratosphere. Yeah.
Well, and it's played differently than it was
in
The Forgotten, when, you've got this just, Jake clearly is somewhere else whenever he's losing time. He's very clearly, remembering a particular place, whereas Tobias at least up until this point is basically saying, I was just here, and then the next moment I'm somewhere else, rather than I've got some time in between that I'm at least acknowledging that I've lost. I don't think we get any time cues saying, I knew it was this far. We get distance, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's a good comparison to be it's not a Sario Rip. I don't know how much Tobias would be able to narrate that because he wasn't really experienced in Sario Rip, but that's a good comparison between a Sario Rip, yeah.
Just to clarify, this, because Tobias mentions having traveled in time in this book, and I haven't read the whole series in a couple of years, but I just reread this one yesterday. But This is before the time of the dinosaurs, isn't it? That hasn't come. That hasn't happened yet.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, because that happens later. It's right before book 18. But then Tobias mentions traveling time, but he didn't remember the Forgotten, did he? It was only Jake who remembered that, and they haven't traveled in time apart from that, have they?
That's right. Except like at the very end of this book, perhaps for like a second.
Yeah.
Like up until this point, no. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he does at the very end, but no, he mentions it before the end of the book. Yeah. It's
right.
Yeah. No, that's right. I did wonder about that. I was trying to get my timeline right.
Yeah. Maybe he's just like referring to it. Yeah. But that's a good point. Like he knows enough to say. I mean, the first time he didn't really notice it. This time he did notice it, and he's like, something's weird, but I can't think about it too much because I got to deal with the situation that's developing in front of me.
Right. Which
is suddenly I didn't know where his wife was. Now I'm just teleported above his wife. That's convenient. Right. All right. And goes for. Okay, and tell me if I'm wrong on this. This is a little convenient as well. Tobias goes in full seer mode to get the attention of a local bird that he knows is in a nearby tree from just knowing meadows and things like that from experience. Does a double seer to be loud enough so that this bird will come out of its hole and distract Visser 3 so he can scrape his eyeballs, because it's hard to sneak up on an Andalite. How does a double seer not draw Visser 3's attention in the first place before the other bird comes out? I don't know. It seemed pretty lucky to me, because Tobias is a pretty loud hawk from the experience that he's shown us.
Yeah, Andalites like look everywhere, but do they look up?
No, it's dogs. Dogs don't look up, but Andalites are okay.
Well, but like nobody looks up because nothing interesting happens above you.
That's true. Like
in most situations.
That's
like,
true.
Maybe
This
if you're
one's
outdoors and
eye level, the other bird versus him. That's a good point. That's a good point.
I wouldn't look straight up.
So he does scrape Visser 3's eyes and say, "Cat Howpack, we gotta go. Let's go." And they do, and they reunite the two. And it's kind of awesome. They feel like really good about it, but then they don't know what to do with it after that.
Right.
But then Tobias says he does. He does know what to do with it. I know the perfect meadow for this, to take them, and it's this way. And then he tells us, the reader, that he's never been to or seen this meadow before. Where is it coming from?
Yeah, so at this point, he's like, okay, something's messing with me for a fact. He doesn't specifically say what it is. Alex, did you have, as a first-time reader, did you have any thoughts at this point about what was up? Or just like, I guess I'll have to keep seeing?
I think we've had a handful of, maybe unfair to call them MacGuffins, but I think that's somewhat what they are. You know, we've got the Forgotten, we've got, other cases like the Reaction, where you've obviously got something mysterious happening that they just don't fully understand about the Animorph physiology. So I was wondering if the change was something where, Tobias would be losing kind of his human sense for things. And that would make sense. Oh, okay, I kind of went on autopilot and flew over to this location. Or, I remembered something, but I can't remember where it's from. But it's very much phrased differently in this. So instead of being, I feel like I'm losing who I am, I feel like I'm losing something, he feels suspicious about having gained something, which I think that's a fairly good writing trick to try and kind of imply that greater machinations are at work, rather than saying, something is happening to Tobias as a deficit. It's more that something is being thrust upon him.
Yeah.
And
he's not losing his humanity or something. Something is actually messing.
Yeah, each time we get more information about that, it starts to seem like that more and more, which it's well written. It's a good way to write that, I think.
But they don't know. Well, they're like, all right, let's reconvene tomorrow. We'll do it. We'll take him to this thing. Sure. I need to get home. All of us need to get home. Sorry, Tobias, no offense, but we all got to get home. And I got a homework or dinner or whatever. So Tobias sadly sleeps in a tree next to the cave.
Nobody built this boy a birdhouse. Not even once.
Nope.
I mean, the woodshop class, anything like that. Nobody said, yeah, that's just rude.
Tobias really had some good points in this one of really hammering home the point of like, they get to go home after like a hard day's work and get under the sheets and have their alarm clocks and have their lamps and their comfort. Mm-hmm. And I'm peeing myself scared of what's going to get me in the middle of the night, because it's great during the day. It sucks at night. This sucks every night. Yeah. He has another vision, I believe, of an army coming near him. Is that right? Is that the scene?
He does.
Here?
He sees the Taxxons, he sees the
Yeah.
Hork-Bajir encroaching, and that's when he gets them to run.
Yeah, and we got to go. I know the other Animorphs aren't here, but we got to go. So they
There's
do.
a breed of taxons that are extra good at smelling and tracking.
Yes.
All coming after him.
Yeah, kind of. I don't remember that being a thing before. It's introduced here, correct? Kind of like Blue Band, Hork-Bajir, that kind of thing. It's like an elite squad.
Yeah.
It's an interesting function for a large creature that, is, mostly a wet trash bag that you can't put your arms all the way around them to hug them, even if you wanted to.
Gross.
Yeah, that has a large, I don't know. It's a strange function to apply to those creatures rather than pretty much anybody else who moves faster or seems to be more incisive.
But they have a bad time. I mean, like they're able to get away, but also like I'm riding this Hork-Bajir and we're like slowly moving, but also trying to be quiet. But also we know people are behind us, and also there's all these creatures that are looking at me like they want to eat me for dinner. And also
Mhm.
I'm hungry, and also I haven't slept, and also I hate night, and I hate the woods, and I hate
Right.
being a hawk, and I hate everything. That's basically what Tobias is dealing with as he's trying to escape from aliens on top of other aliens.
One of the Hork-Bajir is like, hey, where are we going? Do you have a plan? And he basically shouts to the heavens, I don't know. Do I have a plan? And the Ellimist
True.
is like, okay, yeah, you're right. It's me.
Yeah. He says, I'm not going anywhere else. Someone's gonna tell me what's happening. And the Ellimist says, yeah, you, I'm not helping, but I'm helping a little bit. His non-committal way of being an Ellimist. Tobias is like, fine, I'll get your stupid Hork-Bajir to the stupid meadow that you're saying, but you got to give me something. And the Ellimist is like, what do you want? And they wrap up a conversation that later Tobias thinks back and says, I don't really know actually what the Ellimist committed to, because I want to be a boy, but I don't remember him saying that he'd turn me into a real boy if I do this thing that I was gonna that I told him I would do.
Yeah, the conversation, I was paying extra close attention to it. And the whole time I'm going through, this is a boy who has not seen the movie Aladdin. He does not know how genies work. Hey, I can grant you a wish if you take these Hork-Bajir to this valley. Okay, you know what I want.
Yeah.
All
That's a
right.
terrible way to phrase it.
Hang on, though, but do you think, though, and this is because I was thinking about this a lot as I was reading it, because Tobias has all this outrage later on where he says, the Ellimist promised me, and I'm like, well, no, he didn't, like, for a start, and secondly, you didn't tell him what it was. But the thing is, I read it as Tobias being like, you know what I want, because what he actually wants is to stay a bird but be able to morph again and be able to be part of the fights and everything. The Ellimist says, do you know what you want? Do you know what you're going to want when you want it? I read that as that being Tobias unable to articulate what he actually wants, because he knows what he should want, and what all the other Animorphs would want for him is to be human again. And this, is something that kind of plays out for the rest of it. But what he privately wants is to stay a bird and be able to morph. And
He wants to be
think
part of the
that's
team. Better.
100%. That's what he wants. And so I think the Ellimist gives him exactly what he wants. But Tobias is not at a point yet where he can admit to himself that what he actually wants is to stay a bird. He's not there yet. And that's the entire arc of his whole character throughout the series. And it's never fully resolved, but it becomes extremely clear as it goes on that, like, this is actually how he's more comfortable. This is how he's more, with all the fears and the terrors and the downsides that come with it and the jealousies and the resentments. But the fact of it is, Tobias doesn't want to go back to being human. At the end of the book, he does admit to himself that his sort of ideas of, eating breakfast and the warm glow of the TV and everything aren't really what his life was before this. But I think that I don't think the Ellimist cheated him at all. I think the Ellimist gave him what he subconsciously wanted, what Tobias in that moment was unable to directly ask for, because to ask that would be admitting something he's not ready to face up to.
Yeah. And in that sense, because yes, that is. So we haven't actually said it, but yes, the Ellimist gives him his morphing powers back. Big lore drop, big moment, big thing
Sorry,
happens
let's skip
here.
ahead.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big
man.
deal
Yeah.
because like this whole time Tobias couldn't morph, but I think Ellimist probably understands.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, Tobias is like 12 or 13 or something. He does extend an olive branch that he really didn't have to at the end of the book that we'll get to. He didn't have to do that, and it was kind of cool of him to do that, really, because he kind of bent time to make it happen. But anyways, he gets his morphing powers back at a great time because it was pretty hilarious. Not that he fell, Tobias breaks his wing, falls into a creek, or falls next to a creek. A raccoon finds him, starts dragging him, and this part's terrifying. Tobias is like, this raccoon is going to disembowel me alive, and the water that he's going to put me in will help him feel my insides about what he wants and what he doesn't want, and I'm going to be eaten alive as a bird all alone.
Are you looking for a dumpster diving buddy? A pet that loves to wash their hands? Perhaps a furry friend that will make your life flash before your eyes? Look no further. Join the Raccoon of the Month Club. With our exclusive membership, you'll have access to our Give a Raccoon, Take a Raccoon option. You can surround yourself with a variety of nature's little snack ninjas, and we won't ask any questions. So the next time you need your live poultry washed in a nearby stream, consider our services and join the Raccoon of the Month Club.
Now would be a really good time when the Ellimist is like, hey, Ellimist is really good at the timing of offering things. Now would be a good time for payment. Yes, now would be a good time for your payment. Okay, it's done. You idiot! I'm still a bird. What are you talking about? It's done. And then Tobias, you can morph. Oh, okay, great. And so he acquires a raccoon and.
Well, and prior to that, we get a lovely humanizing moment for naturalizing. I'm not sure what the word is going to be here because we're dealing with a bird that's interacting with an alien species. But with the Hork-Bajir, you get this moment where he kind of talks to them and finds out that, these folks are vegetarians, basically. They're they carve off bits of bark and such, and they eat trees. And my favorite quote from this book has to be this one where he's talking, he's just like observing the absurdity of the whole thing. And he says, there were times when my life was just so utterly insane I could only laugh. A pair of goblins from some far distant planet were worried they'd hurt my feelings because they didn't like pine bark. That's just if we could distill Animorphs down, fundamentally that's kind of what we're playing around, right? And that's great. It's funny.
It's those moments.
Absurdist, and it's also very, emotionally interactive with other creatures that look very different than you. I love that. I think that's cool.
It is. Yeah, it's the core of what this stuff's about, for sure.
Yeah, they're like, we're hungry. They start peeling bark off and eating it, and Tobias goes, "Hey, did you used to eat bark on your home planet?" And they're like, "Oh yes, it was so much better,
amazing."
And then,
yes.
"Oh, but this is good too."
Your trees are okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy, for your save there.
Yep.
And so the Animorphs do catch up because it's like the next morning at this point, and Tobias is pretty relieved. He's like, I've had a terrible time. Like a bobcat almost ate me, which we didn't say that. Bobcat almost ate me. A raccoon almost ate me. I still haven't eaten. Things are chasing me all night. I haven't slept. Yeah. So they get there and they're working through. And at this point, as you said, Alex, the Yeerks are just all in on finding these Hork-Bajir. I mean, there's even more of an army coming after them. There's taxes, there's Hork-Bajir, there's everybody. Helicopters.
And they're so far away, too. Like, they've been marching this giant army all night.
And now they're just starting a fire. They're just blasting into the woods.
This is a great time for the rest of the Hork-Bajir to escape.
This is true.
Yeah.
No one's left at the pool.
Unless they're marching.
Yeah, those can't.
They're all
those
out
just
there.
Have to watch. Yeah. And they're starting a fire. Half the forest is on fire now. Drake and beaming it. The other half is an army chasing them, and they come up with an idea like, okay, they're not going to stop until these Hork-Bajir are captured or dead. And I love this because Tobias comes up with the idea, because Tobias has some pretty good ideas in this book, I think. And he says, well, hey, we can just give them to Hork-Bajir, make it look like they died, they'll get off their back. Rachel's going to morph one of them because she got that morph already. And you know what? I'll morph the other one. And I think it's great because it says, and we need someone to acquire and morph Ket Halpak, I said. I'll do it, Jake said without hesitation. No, Jake, not this time, I said. I'll do it. No one said anything for a good 30 seconds. They just stared. They stared with wolf eyes and bear eyes and tiger eyes and andalite eyes. They were trying to decide if I was crazy. I can just imagine everyone's in that group. Like, we all just stop. Everything's going crazy around. Everyone just stops. It's like, ugh.
And then Marco pulls out a $10 bill out of his pocket, hands it to Jake, and says, "You were right. He was faking the whole time."
It's such a but it's such a triumphant moment. I mean, the point where the Ellimist gives him the powers back and everything. Because you're right, that it's such a terrifying moment, that one where he's being dragged by the raccoon and he's screaming for help and no one can hear him. Then he gets the powers back and he morphs. And I'm reading it and I'm just like, yeah, I know the book, I've read it before, and I'm just rereading it. And even then, even on reread, knowing perfectly well what happens, I'm still grinning and I'm still punching the air. And the moment Tobias says, no, I'm going to morph, and this time I'm going into danger, and this time Jake's going to be the scout up above. And Marco has that, I think Marco's particularly dickish in this book. And, the bit where he makes some comment about being like, Marco's always dickish, but the bit where he makes the comment about, oh, Tobias, I thought you were off safely hiding somewhere. But the moment where Tobias actually gets to morph in front of everyone, and he morphs the Hawk-Bajir, and then he goes in there with Rachel and leads the diversion after feeling so useless for so long, and he gets... It's an awesome moment. It's so good. And look, I mean, I'm a Tobias boy through and through. The first Animorphs book I read was The Encounter. I'm
nice.
He's my boy. He's and I know if I have a Tobias book coming up, I'm gonna have a good time. And I mean, you give me Tobias, the Ellimist, and the Hawk-Bajir, I'm having a really good time. But in this moment for Tobias, it is... I mean, every Tobias book is story somewhere or another. He gets half as many books as the I mean, there are very few books in the series that are as lore heavy and as satisfying and as game changing as this one. And that moment in particular, where after 13 books, he's able to morph again. He's able to join the fight. Doing so creates this plight where it's like, I can turn. Well, I mean, we'll get to that, but he's still stuck as a bird, but now he's sort of useful. It's so profoundly satisfying. So it's really useful morph as a Hawk-Bajir of all things. Even just adds to that,
Yeah, and he's always thought that he's not useful, even though he has been. I mean, you see immediately the fact that Jake is up in the sky instead, while Tobias is down on the ground. They're like, oh my God, Jake, you don't know what anything looks like from above. Jake, in my mind, I'm like, Jake kind of sucks at this because he's not used to being up there. We sure could use a Tobias up in the sky. Jeez, man,
100%.
But they do. They're like, all right, the plan is, in the end, the plan is, let's run for this ravine, this kind of canyon drop off, and just as two morphed Hawk-Bajir just dive off this thing. I'd rather die than be caught by the Yeerks, or Hawk-Bajir is stupid and they ran off the cliff. Either way, we're gonna run off this thing. But Marco, as a gorilla, is down below, as only a gorilla could do. Will grab us. Might be painful for a second. Pulls us in. Real dangerous. But then the twist is, let's get the real Ket and Jara, put them down at the bottom of the ravine, have some Animorphs be wolves, and literally tear skin off of them to make it look like they're eating them. I mean, we have said that they can heal, and it's painful, but whatever. So that when all this army just glances over the cliff, hey, there's some 2 dead Hawk-Bajir. They're being eaten by wolves. We're not going to vaporize them. I mean, we vaporized evidence in the past. We're not going to... They'll take care of it. This is what happens if you run from the Yeerk Empire. Okay. All right. Pretty good plan, I thought. Unlike some other plans they've had in the past.
Well, it's adds in the future. I mean, it's a great plan, except it just kind of speaks to the complete and utter hubris of Visser 3 to look down and be like, oh, conveniently 2 wolves just found them the instant they fell and were already ripping into them. It's like, well, hang on. If you're logical about it for just 1 second, those 2 big spiky looking things have just hit the ground. Wolves are probably going to be a little bit wary before approaching them and everything. But I mean, it's just classic Visser 3. It's like, the fact that he walks over there and he looks down, he has this I mean, it's I always remember Visser 3 as a kid being, quite terrifying. When you reread the series, you go, he's so useless. He's such a useless, hubristic villain. And this moment is just of course, he goes, yeah, sweet, that's a victory. And that's, but think about it for just 1 second. But no, classic Visser 3. It's kind of, in fact, Visser 3's arrogance is probably the Animorphs' greatest ally throughout this series.
Oh, 100%. And it's almost like on this moment he wants to say, doesn't he say wolves? He's like, let's leave him to the wolves. And it's like, I want to show everyone I know what a wolf is. I've been looking. I know what a wolf is. I'm going to say that and not even think about the fact that it's been 1 second since the thing fell on the ground.
Already on there. It's like, oh, that's convenient. That's sudden. That's a really compelling tableau for your punishment threat you want to dangle over everyone. But hey, look, it is like I was thinking as I was reading it, was like, the rapidity of the wolves tearing into the conveniently fast aside, it's a really strong. It is a strong plan. It's like, morph them, jump over. They're not going to go down there. The drop's so big. No one's going to think to investigate it. In all the chaos and everything, and Visser 3 certainly isn't, because he'll just see it as a victory, and that's all he wants, is to be able to say it was a victory. So it works very well.
I will say there is one little hiccup, and it's not part of the plan. It's Tobias was trying to fight people. Rachel had to keep saying, don't fight people. We're just running for the ravine. Just run to the ravine. And then he even runs into a Taxon, and he is annoyed by the Taxon. He's like, I want to just stomp this Taxon. And then it said, when the smoke cleared, I was face to face with a Taxon. You're lucky I'm in a hurry. Like he thought speaks to this Taxon as Jera or Ket. I forget which one he is. Ket, I think. Hork-Bajir don't.
Wait, does he
Hork-Bajir don't. He thought speaks to this Taxon and
no,
says,
he does not.
Get out of my way.
I missed that completely. Oh no, that's an oversight, mate. That's not good.
If you're gonna say that, at least say it in like Hork-Bajir dialogue.
Yeah,
say it out loud.
Or kill it afterwards. Like,
right,
Tobias.
Because then later, you're one of the Taxons. You're like, that one thought spoke to me. Is that normal? Did Hork-Bajir do that?
You're sure he wasn't speaking to Rachel, or
no? It says you're lucky I'm in a hurry. I said, yeah.
And it's in the, I don't have the book to hand, but that's. Oh no.
Yeah, bad idea, I said, and brushed past the huge centipede. It's true. It could be, Patrick. You're right. It could be I'm going to be snarky privately to Rachel at this, like, it's like if you and me were there, I'd be like, hey, Patrick,
we're going to have to read it. I think we're going to have to read it that way just for head count.
To make it make sense.
Because otherwise it makes no sense. Otherwise, that's a real... Yes. I didn't notice that at all. That's a great catch.
And they're like, all right, the fire's gone, I guess, because forest fires just go away. And the armies are gone. Visser 3's gone.
They held their Draken beams upside down and put out the fires.
Oh, right. That's how it works. Or you unsqueeze the trigger and it sucks back in. The fire sucks back in. I think that's how it goes, yeah. And that's when the next 1-2 chapters, Tobias is just angry, annoyed, upset, angsty, which is normal for Tobias, I guess. Even Axe is like, hey, Tobias, how you doing there? Don't want to talk about it. Okay, see ya. Just kind of gallops away. All right, Axe. Good for you for trying. But it's him grappling, like Gabe said. It's him grappling with like, I got this thing. This isn't what I wanted. I don't think it's what I wanted. But I mean, Tobias has to come to terms with the fact that like he is one of one. There's nobody else like him. There's no other human with the power to morph that got stuck as a bird. That's not a thing. And so he's unique. He has a lot of perspective. I mean, you could argue he's maybe the strongest member of the team. He doesn't have the distractions of school and having to like keep up a facade of being a real person. He just has an excellent memorization of the area around him. And he has to be like mentally strong and tough to get through the stuff that he's going through.
Well, then of course we get, which leads I think nicely into the very final part of the book, which of course is the Ellimist presumably taking him times the night before the construction site and allowing him to acquire his human body again, which of course presents him with, and I mean, this to me is like Animorphs. This is why this series still rips. This is a 62-book long disposable scholastic children's series that, has some ridiculous stuff going on in it, and also is so willing to like present you with the most fascinating like ethical and moral conundrums and everything, and they're big, dark, compelling themes and everything. But to have a character like Tobias who, he gets given this gift by the Ellimist to be able to turn back into his human body, and if he wants to live a human life again, of course all he has to do is stay in that morph for 2 hours, but he won't be able to morph anymore. And this creates this huge conundrum for him, and also for Rachel as the series goes on, which is he can just do that, but will he? And is he happier as a bird? And I've always found so compelling about Tobias to sit in the discomfort, and so willing to sit in the fact that Tobias kind of has this mentality of like, yeah, it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to me, and that's enough. And I love that. I love that because it just sits with that. And I mean, Animorphs throughout its entirety was always willing to sit with discomfort and a lack of easy answers. It was always willing to sit with irresolution, and it was always willing to sit with not tying a neat bow on top of the story at the end, but just existing within the strange ambiguities of basically life. And I mean, if you just kind of think about the amount of things that happened throughout this series where fans have complained that it was never resolved, but the more you read it, I mean, you just have to look at Tobias and go, resolution was always the point, because you don't get resolution in life, and it's actually, I think, just an incredibly important lesson to teach kids, and to say this doesn't have to make sense. There isn't necessarily going to be this end game for Tobias that will wrap it all up in some way, because sometimes things just are, and you just have to sit with them and live with them. And exactly as you said, he is one of one. He's human and he's bird at the same time, and he's somewhere in between, and he's neither. And the way that the Ellimist even refers to him kind of summarizes that. And it's one of the reasons that this book is just such an Animorphs all-timer.
At the Wood Creek Math Workshop, we support learners at every stage, from early elementary through advanced college courses. With over 10 years of teaching experience, our staff helps students build real confidence in mathematics. Our in-person small group sessions allow each student to focus on the topics they need most, while benefiting from collaboration and clear, patient instruction. Individual online tutoring is also available, but with limited availability. Learn more and register at the-math-hurdle.com. That's the-math-hurdle.com. The Wood Creek Math Workshop, turning math problems into moments of clarity. It is, yeah. And it stands out, like, when people try to think back on the series, like, this is like a really big scene, and this book is like a really big book. Because, I mean, in the fact that it's the book where Tobias gets his morphing powers back.
Yeah,
it's the book where he can get his human morph back, but it's also the start of something cool with this Hork-Bajir. I mean, there's two free Hork-Bajir on Earth now, and that's a pretty strong subplot.
But it also, to me, it neatly sets up what I think is far and away the best book in the entire series, which is the Hork-Bajir Chronicles. By setting up, by getting man, Alex, when you get to read that for the first time, that book is like a science fiction masterpiece in and of itself that happens to exist within this 62-book disposable scholastic children's series from the 90s. But like this book squarely kind of sets it up, and like by setting up the whole arc with the free Hork-Bajir, by setting up the fact that Tobias has this special connection with them because he saved them, there's so much that is set up in this book. And like, it was about 4 years ago that it was during COVID, I did my big reread of the series, and even sitting there and reading this again, it just brings back to, I'm like, man, Animorphs is good. Like, it's just so cool. Like, how are we so lucky to get a series like this as kids that like went to these places, had these ideas, didn't patronize, didn't speak down, hit people with like, the most twisted, uncomfortable, tough to get your head around stuff. And you just read this and you go, man, like, I'm jealous of you guys, because I'm like, man, you get to see all this for the first time. I mean, yes, you're going to have to sit through all the rubbish filler books like Cassie in Australia and, the Arctic one and all of that stuff. But stuff like this and what this leads to and the ideas it leads to, like, I find myself wishing I could read it again for the first time, because it is dazzling when you look at what Applegate and Grant did within the limitations and parameters of something that, there's that great Paris Review article from a few years ago where it says one of the biggest secrets of Animorphs is the fact that the covers are so corny that no parent would question what was in there. Like, no parent would question just how dark it got or like supervise their kids reading it. And so, kids, like, my parents certainly didn't. And, then I'm reading all this stuff about genocide and the morality of war and, the tortured division of identity and all of this stuff. And it's just, and this book is, like, from here on, there aren't that many major turning points in Animorphs. There aren't that many major game changes. There's like, it kind of is like a great sci-fi series where there's some great standalone story arcs that delve into some really compelling ideas. But, there aren't really that many events after this that like really pivot the series and like drive the book until towards the end. But, this is one of the biggest ones, and it opens up some of the biggest storytelling possibilities of the series. I mean, it's such an absolute crucial hinge point for the books.
And therefore, Gabe gives it a what from 0 to 10? Because it just seems like you should.
I won't give it the full 10 only because, to me, the full 10 is the Hork-Bajir Chronicles. Like, if the full 10 is the Hork-Bajir Chronicles and the full 0 is that that awful, was it the Jaguar book where Rachel takes over the team when
Oh,
Jake's
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah,
holiday,
yeah.
and it's like
Yeah, the
unreadably
weakness.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the ranking, I mean, the 9 or the 10 to me has to go to, like, the David trilogy or the Hawk-Bajir Chronicles or the Ellimist Chronicles or the Auxiliary Animorph stuff, and I know I'm saying this very vaguely to avoid spoiling anything specific for later on, but if that's my ranking, then I mean this has to be an 8 out of 10,
Okay. 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Alex, Patrick?
The whole time I was reading through it, I was like, I really like this. I really like this. I really like this. I really like this. And I struggle to think of anything that I would take points off from. I mean, yeah, I really like the Chronicles books in here, but I don't want to say because those would be 10s.
Are all 10s the
this
same?
one can't be a 10.
It's tough.
Yeah, and I have rated maybe both of the Marco books so far as 10s.
Mhm.
I mean, just purely as Animorphs books. I mean, yeah, I can't really think of.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so yeah, I was when Tobias went back in time and got to acquire his previous self. I was, internally screaming at him, like, just tell him don't stay as a hawk.
Yeah.
It makes things
But
complicated.
again, it's because he wants to stay as a hawk. Like, that's my read anyway, and it's great that it allows you the possibility to look in different directions.
Right. Were we clear about that? I mean, like, he went back in time for a moment the night before the site and acquired himself to get the DNA. Don't question the time too much. Theoretically, it could have happened in real life, right? Tobias even said, like, it might have been a dream, I forgot.
Yeah.
So now he has a human morph. I mean, I don't know if we clearly said it. That's the setup right there, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, besides yelling at him to say, "Hey, don't stay in more for 2 hours,"
And he didn't say don't go to the construction site either. I mean, that would be its own.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that as well. But
paradoxes.
again, I'm so sure that he wanted to say that's. But like, I love it. I love it so much.
Yep.
yeah, I don't know. I want to give it a 10.
Okay. You said it. Too late. You can't take it back.
I like it. Oh, sorry. 10 moving trees out of 10.
Good. A good unit. Alex?
Oh, okay. So, Patrick, you hit on a really important point that I was thinking about whenever I was trying to come up with a score or rating that I would give this book. And I really would have to agree with you here that I like to approach things additively. I like to say, add up all the sum of its parts. And, we've got a good A plot. We've got a good B plot. We've got a lot of compelling drama that goes on with Tobias where it's clearly well thought through. And it's just a, if it's a rom-com trope of like miscommunication or, two ships passing in the night, any of that stuff, I usually like to take off points. But additively, I really feel like this book gels so well together with each other part that's inside of it. If Tobias was flying off the handle much earlier, I think it would have felt very hot-headed for him to do a lot of the things that he did. And I don't know if he would have treated the Ellimist encounter quite the same way. I think if the B plot had been less than it was, and it's like, well, we dealt with this other society. The Pemalites were really cool as an idea, having these robot dogs and having these, cyborgs and such. But at the end of it, it was very much that's a handshake deal. We're moving on with our lives. But this very much felt like Gabe was saying, it changes the status quo fundamentally. And that's hard to say, well, as a B plot, that's anything less than as good as you want a B plot to be. If it's going to do something, you should be doing something meaningful and with gravity to it. So, again, I'm usually a Cassie guy. I'm usually here for the Cassie ethical conundrums, moral dilemmas, why are we doing this and what is the ethical, repercussions of that. But I felt like Tobias really picked up the load of everybody. He did a good job of just very much embodying his own school of thought, very Zen kind of approach to this is the natural world, this is my world, and this is where I am. Like I was saying, this identity dissociation. But yeah, I really couldn't pick too much apart away from it. And I'd probably have to give it I'd probably have to give it somewhere between a 9 and a 10. I might actually give it even 10 out of 10 IKEA birdhouses that never got built for a boy who lives in a tree. I mean,
is that your first 10, Alex?
That's probably going to be my first 10. And, at this point, unless we just really get something that turns it around, this might be this might stand for a bit. So
Oh
yeah.
man.
Oh,
Okay.
you're coming into, because it's funny, like I did a few years ago, and I get in so much trouble with this online. When I did my reread, I wrote this like Animorphs guide to the books, like a reading guide, because I love the idea of people discovering Animorphs, and I love the idea of people rediscovering it, but also you can't commit to 62 out of print children's books unless you're a crazy person like I am. And so I found a lot of reading guides online, but I sort of went through and I gave each book a ranking out of like whether it's recommended, essential, or skippable. And I try to be really tough on it and just say which ones are essential, are the ones that like really move the plot forward or introduce something important, or the really great ones that don't necessarily move the plot forward but have some fascinating philosophical exploration, something in the middle of it and everything. And anyway, I always see people hanging crap on that online because people are like, oh, I don't like his rankings. You didn't like this book and this book and this book and everything. And I'm just sort of like, all right, well, whatever, man. It's my rankings. But when I look back over that list, and I did before this, I wanted to have a look at what I gave this book. And of course, I gave it an essential. But the teens and the 20s of Animorphs, for me, were just like almost so many essentials. Like, it's just like, yeah, there's some rubbish ones after this, and there's some filler ones after this. Of course there are. It's always peppered with them. But really, throughout the teens and the 20s of Animorphs, it is banger after banger after banger after banger. And like, particularly if you include the Chronicles and the Megamorphs books, I mean, like, I know the fandom hates the Time of the Dinosaurs. I love the Time of the Dinosaurs. Like, I think the Time of the Dinosaurs rips. And like, it's from here on in, I reckon I know I'm going to take this bet. You can be the one handing me the $10 note after this, because I reckon before the 20s are out, you will be dropping a few more tens. I reckon you'll be dropping quite a few more tens. Yeah.
Oh man. A
High
challenge
praise.
to Alex.
High praise. Okay. All right.
Look, I mean, if the worst thing that happens here is that he's injured and he reacquires the morphing tech and he acquires that raccoon, first of all, instead of just morphing his house cat, whatever. He doesn't know that he still has the house cat. But
Right.
if he morphs the raccoon and wanders away and is like, ugh, this sucks, I have to just be a slow raccoon. Oh right, I can demorph and I'll be okay. I'll give him some slack because it's been a minute since Tobias could morph, right?
Fair.
If that's the worst that the book has, and maybe him yelling at a taxon on his way. If that's the worst that it has, I mean, are we gonna give 4 tens here? I mean, it's a great book, man. It's a great book.
Gabe gave it a high rating, but I didn't hear
I'm
a
an
10.
8, yeah. Just
you're
on
an 8.
technicality,
Ah,
yeah. Just
breaking the streak.
purely because I have to save the 9 and 10s for
right.
the real, the absolute perfect ones.
I like that reasoning. I'm gonna give it a 9. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
All right.
And collectively, though, I mean, I do think this is like one of the highest ratings that we've given. It's certainly,
For sure.
I have to go back and listen, but like certainly higher than our prior Tobias book that we read.
Yeah.
Which are you guys doing? Is it Andalite Chronicles next?
Yeah, that's a great. Okay, I wanted to ask you that. There's Alex. There is for background. There is I presume you asked this question because there's a bit of a conversation as to when you should read some of the chronicles, particularly the Andalite Chronicles. Should you read it in publication order or should you read it in chronological order, like the time frame? Because Andalite Chronicles is a bit of a prequel sort of, or should you read it where it's the most relevant in the story? I think we're just gonna, Gabe, to answer your question, I think we're gonna strictly go publication date.
Yeah.
But do you have a preference? I did want to ask you that. Do you have a preference on reading order to someone that's doing this? Not necessarily we'll take your advice.
Oh,
but
do
just,
I?
want to know what you would give.
When I did my reread during COVID, I read them. I just did publication order. I think that's the most honest way to do it. I think it's. I mean, you can read the Andalite Chronicles before book 23 or something when it becomes really pertinent.
Yeah,
Or
around then,
if you wanted to, you could read the Hawk-Bashir Chronicles, before 33 when it becomes really pertinent. But my take on it would be that, like, if you read them in publication order, I think there's a reasoning for it, for why they're placed where they are. I mean, so I think Andalite Chronicles is published right after this book or right after the next one. And I think this book...
Next. Yeah, it's next.
Yeah, cool. So I think this book, given that this is a Tobias... Given a lot of what happens in this book and given what happens in the Andalite Chronicles, I think it's a good place to read it. And also what you learn in Andalite Chronicles, it's good knowledge. It creates a tension for the next few books until the point where it becomes most pertinent, because you suddenly know something the characters don't know. And that's also true of the Hawkmajir Chronicles and true of the Ellimist Chronicles as well. So my real recommendation would be that for maximum impact, read in publication order, because no, it might not become relevant for a few books, but you'll know and you'll see the clues and you'll see the hints, and then it creates maximum satisfaction when you get to the point where the events become important because you've known for long enough, so you haven't found out just 5 minutes before the characters do. I think that's my recommendation anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I agree.
And Applegate Chronicles just rips anyway. It's just a hell of a book.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see how we do on that one. I mean, when you first read that one, it came out in Alex little thing. It came out in 3 mini parts. When I got it was a whole book. I just read the whole thing in one go.
Yeah, so did I. It's big. Like it's big because it's a proper novel. Like, I mean, an Animorphs book. Right. Like I read this in 2 hours. That's easy enough. But like, when I was reading them during COVID, I was reading like sometimes 2 or 3 a day. But like, Applegate Chronicles is like it's a novel. Like, it takes a few days to. Yeah. I mean, you can probably read it in a day if you're really committed. But like, it's a hefty book. It's about the length of 3 Animorphs books. And it's also like all the Chronicles books. It's so dense with like metaphysical mythology and like big ideas and everything that you kind of want a bit more time to digest it. Like, it's not something you can just like read and knock over, because you read it and then you're going to want to sit with it. It's just, there's so much thrown at you, and it's such, I mean, every Chronicles book is I think designed to rip your heart out and stomp on it and just leave you staring blankly into the middle distance in the best way possible as a kid's book. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it would probably be frustrating if you tried to break it up into 3 and then sort of do 3 episodes on it. But, there's enough in it to do 3 episodes on it. But there's also just going to be so much you're going to want to talk about.
Right. Hey, so I wanted to ask you something kind of in general. Like, how do you think reading Animorphs from a young age like shaped you? I mean, you're a writer now. I mean, surely this has something to do with it.
Untold. Like, absolutely untold. I mean, look, Animorphs, it's the earliest thing I can be obsessed with. Like, it was probably that, like, the Animals of Farthing. It's a very, very twisted series about destruction, chaos, and carnage. And given that I write books full of death and destruction and chaos and carnage, I think it probably did have some kind of influence. But it probably wasn't. I probably didn't realize the influence Animorphs had on me until I reread them. Because I never finished the whole series as a kid. I read what was accessible. I read what was in the school library. I read a lot of them out of order. I never read all of them. I never read the ending. But, I sort of knew vaguely how it ended just through osmosis and everything, I guess. But then when I kind of committed to rereading it, and, because by the time eventually I sort of moved on to like Harry Potter and Artemis Fowl and those things, and I kind of forgot about Animorphs a little bit as a kid. But when I reread them, I sort of thought, okay, reading this at a formative age has just shaped so much of my philosophy and, in terms of storytelling. And I write thrillers for adults that are very dark and violent, but I also write for children. And, my Andromache book series, the second one just came out a couple of weeks ago, which is aimed at sort of a similar readership to Animorphs, is hugely influenced by Animorphs, like hugely, in that I don't believe in speaking down to children when you're writing for them. I don't believe, I even think about the, a series of unfortunate events, the Lemony Snicket book series. And I saw him live when he came to Australia a few years ago. And he openly said that, he didn't believe in writing a book series that would lie to kids that everything's going to work out and everything's going to be happy and people are going to get what they deserve and it's all going to be fine. Because he said that he felt betrayed by the books that he read growing up when that didn't happen to him in real life. I think a book series like Animorphs actually is very honest with its readership. It talks very directly to its readership, and it makes its readership sit with uncomfortable ideas. And I think there's a reason why kids who grew up with Animorphs tend to be very influenced by it, because it was probably the only book series about time that was doing that. I mean, if you look at with Harry Potter, where everything ends quite neatly, this is a stark contrast to it. And so when I write for kids myself now, I don't want to speak down to them. I don't want to sort of, soften blows them and everything. And even, when I was working on the second Andromache, I pitched it to one of my best friends who's a writer as well. And she just looked at me dead-eyed. She goes, "It's not Animorphs, all right? It's not Animorphs. You're not going to get away with going that dark." And I mostly did. I mean, she's right. Like, Animorphs had this, like, I think because, as Michael Grant likes to say, they had no oversight after a certain point because the editors were just happy with how it was doing. So nobody really checked up on what they were doing in the books. So so I think that that you can't get away with that today. And there definitely are points in my work where I'm told by editors or publishers I've got to pull back. You can't do that for kids. But I've gotten away with everything I can get away with, and I've gone as dark as I think I'm allowed to go. And I wouldn't do that without Animorphs, because I so am fundamentally aligned with how this book series approached writing for kids, and that has just shaped me enormously.
What do you have going on in the pipeline right now? Well, whatever, past, present, future. What kind of
I've got we're recording this a few weeks out from when it will be released. So at the moment, I'm about 1 week out from my my book High Rise coming out, which is my new thriller. It's basically Die Hard set in a commission flat. Die Hard set in an Australian commission flat. So that's coming out next week, but that will be out already by the time this releases. So I'm really excited by that. I'm really sort of pumped for that, and I'm working on a new thing for Audible as well, like a sort of a kind of fake true crime podcast about kind of 4 different authors who witness a murder, and they all write an account of the same night, but they all tell very different stories of it. And it's kind of about a journalist trying to sift through to figure out who's telling the truth. And so that'll be out on Audible sort of as an audio drama with like different actors and interviews and everything. So that'll be out in October. I'm really excited for that. My book, The Hunted, which will probably be what most people know me for. That was kind of my biggest book from a few years ago. The film adaptation starts shooting in a few months. I don't know exactly when, but yeah, they're fully financed, they're fully funded, they're fully cast. So there's some big names involved. So, I don't know exactly when that goes before the cameras, but I'm told it'll be soon once there's some schedules and everything.
Awesome.
So that's the big one. That's a really big one that I think people will be sort of most excited by. But yeah, that's it, man. I'm just at the moment I'm just sort of, and I'm starting working on my next book at the moment. So yeah, that's kind of plenty to keep me busy.
Cool. If people want to check you out, where can they go?
Yeah, so I'm mainly on Instagram. So my website is just gabrielbergmoser.com, which has my blog and links to my books and everything, so you can find it. Yep. Yeah, my Animorphs blogs if you want to read a lot of blogs about Animorphs.
A lot of blogs, yeah.
Yeah, quite a few. Then outside of that, I'm just on Twitter at if you just type in G.O. Bergmoser, just the first 2 initials in my surname. Sorry, not Twitter, Instagram. I am on Twitter. I just don't really use it because who wants to use Twitter today? But no, Instagram I'm on quite a lot. I make most of my announcements and stuff on Instagram. I talk about most of what's going on there, and I just post lots of pictures of my very dumb caboodles. So yeah, that's probably the best place to find me.
Cool.
Love it.
Anything else, guys?
No, just really, really glad having you here, Gabe. I always love to hear people who are really, really fired up about it, and it's nice getting to see, people outside of our enclosure who have really read the breadth of all of these and just have that same obsession that Zach does. I assume he's one of one, and that he just
I was going to say,
it's
nice. But... it's nice to be justified. I'm not the only one that's obsessed.
No, man, no, far from it. No, thanks so much for having me on. This is so much fun, and and like I said at the start, any chance to talk about Animorphs is just an absolute treat and a highlight of my day. So, and getting me on for a book like this, like a really good one that I don't have to kind of roll my eyes at, because there are a few of those coming up as well. I love. So just an absolute privilege. Thank you so much.
Heard you trying to sell us on Hork-Bajir Chronicles, so we'll have to we'll keep you in the books for that one.
Yeah. Oh, please do. Yeah, no, that's it. I certainly wasn't trying to inception the idea of getting me back on for that one. But hey, look, if the option's there, I'm just saying. I'm always here for Animorphs.
Yeah.
Ooh,
awesome. All right, cool. Well, until next time, I guess, guys.
Yeah. Don't stay in more than 2 hours.
Thank you so much. I had a blast.
Perfection.
See you guys.
That's how they get you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Oh.
Animorphs 55, the podcast, is a fan-driven, nostalgic podcast created by Zach Hurdle, Patrick Viersba, and Alex Holton. But don't tell the Yeerks. Theme music provided by Neko Boy. Podcast artwork by Rachel Hurdle. Episodes edited by Patrick Viersba. Based on the 90s sci-fi kids series written by K.A. Applegate, Michael Grant, and other contributing authors. To contact the show, email animorphspodpeople@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect the views of the Animorphs 55 the podcast crew.